Every country on Earth is in debt. The United States alone owes over $38 trillion, the highest figure in its history. The European Union carries around $14 trillion, Japan nearly $9 trillion. Even oil-rich nations like Saudi Arabia and export powerhouses like Germany and China all owe massive sums. But here's the paradox. If everyone owes money, who exactly is owed? This is the financial story where money, power, and history collide. And nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Debt isn't just a burden. It's the architecture of the modern world. Every war, every crisis, every boom and bust is built on top of this invisible scaffolding of IOUs. And if you follow the chain of creditors long enough, you find something unsettling. The world doesn't owe money to any one place. It owes it to itself. But that doesn't mean everyone benefits equally. To understand how we reached this point, a planet carrying over $315 trillion in total debt, nearly 3 times the size of the global economy, we need to go back to the beginning. Long before credit cards or digital transfers, national debt was born out of war. In 1694, England was fighting France and running out of gold. The crown turned to merchants for help. In exchange for a permanent stream of interest payments backed by future taxes, they financed the government. To manage this system, the Bank of England was created. It was revolutionary. For the first time, a government could spend money it didn't yet have. And in return, lenders received something priceless, a promise backed by the state, one that could be traded, bought, or sold. That was the birth of the government bond, the foundation of the modern financial system. France copied it, the Netherlands refined it, the newly independent United States used it to fund its revolution and later expand westward. Debt stopped being a weakness, it became a sign of strength. The ability to borrow became the ability to rule. Empires once conquered land to extract gold. Now they issue bonds to extract interest. The battlefield became the balance sheet. Fast forward 3 centuries, and debt has become the world's most powerful financial engine. The United States owes $38 trillion, Japan over $9 trillion, and global borrowing grows by roughly $1 trillion every 100 days. Every country owes, every bank lends, every citizen, through taxes, savings, and retirement accounts, is both a debtor and a creditor. But who actually holds the other end of the rope? Start with the United States, because its debt isn't just national, it's global. Out of that $38 trillion, about half is publicly held, meaning it's owed to investors rather than government agencies. Roughly 2/3 of those investors are American: banks, pension funds, mutual funds, insurance companies, and the Federal Reserve. The remaining third, around $9 trillion, is held by foreign investors. Japan is the largest holder, followed by China, then countries like the United Kingdom, Luxembourg, and Belgium. So when people say the US is in debt to China, that's only partially true. It's a small fraction, around 2% of total debt. Most of America's debt is owed to itself. The Treasury issues bonds. Investors buy them. The Federal Reserve often buys them back, creating new dollars in the process. Americans pay taxes that fund interest on those bonds, and that money flows right back into American retirement accounts and financial institutions. It's a closed loop. And this loop isn't just American, it's global. Japan lends to the US. The US lends to Europe through institutions like the IMF. Europe lends to developing nations. And those nations often send money back into Western markets by investing in government bonds. It's a global cycle of IOUs. Every country holds someone else's debt. Every promise is backed by another promise. It's like a poker table where every player is using borrowed chips, and the only rule keeping the game alive is that no one walks away. But there's another layer, the most powerful one of all. The markets. Behind every government bond is a vast network of institutions: hedge funds, pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and central banks, managing tens of trillions of dollars. They decide which countries can borrow cheaply, and which ones pay the price. When confidence is strong, money flows easily. When confidence breaks, everything changes. Currencies collapse, governments fall, entire economies can be reshaped overnight. Democracy decides who leads. Markets decide who survives. And at the center of it all are central banks. They don't just manage debt, they create the conditions for it. Every time the Federal Reserve or another central bank buys government bonds, it creates new money. The liability of one balance sheet becomes the asset of another. Every dollar in circulation represents debt somewhere in the system. There is no such thing as debt-free money. For decades, this system has worked on one thing: trust. As long as investors believe governments will keep paying interest, even if the principal is never fully repaid, the system keeps moving. But what happens when that trust breaks? We've seen it before. In Greece, during the 2010 crisis, debt became unsustainable. Investors panicked. Interest rates spiked. International institutions stepped in, but at a cost. Austerity, spending cuts, tax increases, economic pain for an entire generation. In Argentina, repeated defaults turned debt into a long-term national struggle. In Sri Lanka, a debt crisis led to shortages, unrest, and political collapse. When the system cracks, the creditors suddenly become visible. The IMF, rating agencies, bondholders, and the consequences become real. But even after collapse, the system doesn't disappear. It resets.